Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, back to share my thoughts on another film that I didn't get a chance to review when it first came out. This time, let's talk about Zoolander 2, which coincidentally, I wrote an entire review for when I got back from seeing it. That's right, I had the premise laid out, I listed my pros, I listed my cons, I even gave it an overall grade. I was about to do the review, but in typical BCG fashion, I started watching YouTube videos, eating crappy food, and getting extremely lazy to the point where I said to myself, I don't need to do it right now, I can do it tomorrow. And then I said the same thing on the next day, and 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 the next day. Woo, ring, ring, ring. Pick up the phone, and the next day, 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 and the next day. Yeah, you get the point, basically. I kept pushing it off to the point where I just like, well, if I'm not willing to put in the effort to do the review, I might as well not even do said review. And it's been like a couple weeks now, so it's not really that relevant. No one's really gonna care, so I just gave up on reviewing it. And that kind of disappointed me, and I'm sure it disappointed many of you because you were looking forward to hearing my thoughts about the film and etc. And even I made a big push to promote the review by having this like picture that I posted on my Facebook fan page, and I asked you guys to caption the picture, like give me your funniest captions for the picture, and a lot of you gave in some very hilarious submissions, and I never got to use that. I felt really guilty because you guys worked so hard on those. And hopefully if I can find the picture and find all of those captions, I might just rectify my mistake and put them at the end of this video. So we'll have to wait to see if I can find it. But another reason I didn't do the review is because I was just so disappointed with the film. Like, I got back from seeing Deadpool the night before seeing Zoolander 2. And Deadpool was a solid, excellent comedy or action comedy film. It was the best film of the year at that point in time. I mean, after the shit month that I had in January and all the terrible movies that I saw, I just needed something to pick up my spirit. Something that will actually get me jacked up to go back to the movies, because January didn't do anything to help. Like, seriously. I know a lot of people are like, well, Kung Fu Panda 2 or Kung Fu Panda 3, Tony. That didn't help either. It really disappointed me. But Deadpool lifted my spirits up. I was like, this is why I enjoy going to the movies. This is a fun, entertaining, memorable film. And then after that, I'm like, okay, now to Zoolander 2. Let's hope it could continue the momentum. And it did not. It halted the momentum once again. Now, is it a bad movie? No, it's not a shitty movie. It's not like most of the movies in January. It's definitely not like The Huntsman. We'll get to that piece of shit real soon. But it also wasn't anything great. It wasn't anything truly memorable. It was literally in the middle. It felt like a forced sequel that came way after its time, like something that is just past due. A sequel that came way too late. I mean, this is a sequel to a film that came out almost 2 decades ago. Maybe about 15, 16 years ago. Because I think the original came out either in 2000 or 2001. And the original film wasn't even that big of a box office success. In fact, it was a moderate to failing film. Like, it did well, but not extremely well. It didn't do well until it was released for like home video and DVD, and it built up a cult following, and then people started falling in love with it and saying, oh my god, it's so hilarious, this is actually a really funny film, why didn't we like it when it first came out? So I'm guessing Ben Stiller wanted to bank on the success of the first film because everyone really liked it over the years and probably were asking him to do another Zoolander 2, but instead of doing that, he's like, no, I have other projects I want to work on. I'm not gonna do Zoolander 2 until I'm extremely desperate to stay in the public mind. Then I'll do Zoolander 2. But the problem is, he waited way too long, because Zoolander does not have the same appeal that it did back in the early 2000s. Now, if he did the sequel right after Tropic Thunder, I think we would have had a different story, but he waited way too long, and his star has been waning in Hollywood for years. In my personal opinion, the last great movie Ben Stiller ever made was Tropic Thunder. That was a solid comedy film. I mean, there's so many memorable scenes, so many memorable lines, the characters are very entertaining, the comedy was tight, the direction was tight. It just was a really well put together comedy spoof of like war films. Hell, who's gonna forget freaking Robert Downey Jr. as the lieutenant who said the lines, "I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. You're the dude who don't know what dude he is." That's classic right there. Or the other line that he has, "You went full retard. Never go full retard." Again, just, it's a memorable comedy film, and that's exactly what a comedy film should be. It should be something that sticks with you after you leave the movie theater. Zoolander 2 does not do that. It's funny in the moment, but it's not something that's funny down the road. Like, if you watch it for a second time, it loses its luster. So that was one of the other reasons why I didn't do the review. But enough of that. Let's get into the reasons why I liked the film and why I didn't like the film. So this film isn't without its like good moments. It's not that it's totally flawed, that there's nothing to appreciate or enjoy at all. There are actually some funny moments, genuinely funny moments in the film. Like, most of the time whenever you see Zoolander interacting with some of the characters, it's pretty funny. Now, is it gut-busting funny? No, but it is like, oh, that's typical Zoolander. I think the funniest thing, there's two things that Zoolander did in this film that are completely funny and totally in character. The first one is that, remember that building that they were trying to build in the first film, the Zoolander School for kids who can't read good, or can't read really good? Apparently, when he built the school, he built it using popsicle sticks, like in the model. It kind of reminds me of that scene in the first film where he looks at the model of the school. He's like, "What is this? A school for ants? How am I supposed to put people in there?" And he didn't realize that it was a model. And it's just the same idiocy brought into this film as well, where he thought, oh, if I just use popsicle sticks like in the model, it's gonna be totally fine. And then it ends up like coming crashing down and it kills his wife and it gets Hansel injured. I thought that was fitting in the character. Like, and even by the time like when they rescue him, I think he asked himself like, am I still good looking? Am I okay? Like something like that. He also has a child, Derek Jr., and he does some Michael Jackson-esque crazy shit when he has him. In fact, you can almost say that the movie was modeled after Michael Jackson's loony behaviors in his later years. I mean, he has the whole like, oh, I have this baby and I'm hanging him out the window and doing the spin thing, and then he retires from the fashion world and all that stuff. He becomes a hermit, and he only comes out of retirement because all these celebrities are dying, and before they die, they take pictures of themselves doing blue steel, his signature look where he goes, even though the whole point of the film is that all of his looks are the same. Like, he does the same looks all the time, yet they put fancy names to make it seem like it's special. So yeah, they have these celebrities dying and they all take blue steel pictures, and they're wondering why they're taking blue steel pictures, because there's a convoluted plot, blah, 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 blah. I'm not really wanting to talk about the plot because the plot makes no sense, honestly, and it gets so ridiculous, and I didn't care. I just wanted something funny and easy to follow. Did we really need to have this complex plot about Zoolander being the chosen one from like there's Adam, what was it? Adam, Eve, and Steve. Like, Steve was like the perfect human being. He was like the perfect model, and Steve's descendants are like these great and powerful models. And I'm like, the fuck, Steve? Now, later on in the film, they kind of backpedaled, saying that it was just complete bullshit. It's not true, which actually angered me more than the fact that they even came up with this lunacy story. Because I mean, at least commit. You can at least commit and say, yeah, okay, we're gonna tell a story about how there was Adam, Eve, and also Steve. And I was like, okay, I could roll with that. It's stupid. I'm not buying it, but okay. But then Will Ferrell comes out and he backpedals like, that story's not real. It's stupid. You guys are idiots. It's my ploy to get you all here so I can kill you all. But anyway, back to what I was saying. There are some funny moments in the film. One of the funniest ones is that Hansel, he goes into hiding just like Derek Zoolander, because after the accident, the unfortunate accident of the Zoolander school for kids who don't read really good. He actually got like injured from it, and even when you see them carrying him out, he's like wrapped in bandages, like it looked like it was a terrible accident, and he now wears a mask. Almost like Phantom of the Opera style, and he lives in the desert, and you're wondering like what injury did he must he have suffered? In the back of my mind, I knew for a fact it must have been something really silly, and he just overreacted. And sure enough, when he takes the mask off, he's like, "Steve, look what you did to me. I'm ugly." And it's just like this little scar on his cheek, and I'm like, of course. That's actually pretty funny. That's hilarious. But one of the funniest things dealing with Hansel's character is that he has like relationship issues. He can't commit to a single harem, and I'm not even kidding. It's like a harem of people, like up to 15, 16 people are in his harem. They're like this big orgy party, and they're all like in the desert one day, and one of them who's in the big orgy party is Kiefer Sutherland, and he's just like, "We just want you to commit, Hansel. We want you to be with us. We want to feel like you love us." And then they all say that they're pregnant, including Kiefer Sutherland. They're like, and they hold up like the pregnancy sticks, and it's like the plus sign. And he's just like, "Oh, I'm not ready to be a dad. I can't do this." And he runs away, and I don't know what it is, but the fact that Kiefer Sutherland is part of this orgy party, and he treats his lines very seriously, and I know that's the joke, and it works very well because it actually made me laugh really hard. Another funny moment that happens in the film is actually a callback to the original Zoolander. So remember in the first Zoolander where you had Zoolander with his model buddies, and they were driving, and Zoolander's like this, and they were listening to Wake Me Up Before You Go, you know, do-do the jitterbug, do-do the jitterbug. You put the boom boom into my heart, got it so sad when the loving starts. Jitterbug into my band. You get it, basically. There's a callback to that moment in the first film. Here in the second film, we have Zoolander. He meets his son, who turns out to be really fat and nothing like him at all. And he's just like, "We're gonna do like this makeover. We're gonna make you look great." And he's like, "Car trip or shopping." He says something like that, and he goes like that, and then you hear jitterbug, jitterbug, and then he's driving, he's like the same way from the first film, like this, and he's like, "Selfie," not paying attention to the road whatsoever, and he's swerving in lanes, about to get into car crashes, and then finally the car flips like a dozen times, and it lands face up, and he was just like, "Ooh, that was crazy." I don't know why, but that scene made me laugh the hardest in the entire film. It was just so hilarious to me. But what else stood out in the film? I still like Ben Stiller as Derek Zoolander. I still think that he still understands the character, and he just reverted right back to the same character that he was back in the early 2000s as that character. He's still good as it. The problem is that many of the jokes in the film don't hit. When you have those jokes that do work, they're few and far between. Many of the jokes in the middle don't work. Like there's this whole scene where Hansel and Zoolander, they meet each other again, and Hansel's like, "You gotta do blue steel. Okay, try it." And then they keep throwing stuff, like doing the slapstick humor, and it's not funny. There's this whole gag about like Benedict Cumberbatch is a model, and they don't know if he's a he or she's a she. She's like the new form of model. And they also have this whole thing where they call Zoolander and Hansel has-beens, like they're way past their prime. They shouldn't be in the fashion world. And there's this I don't know why. I know why I forgot this dude, because he was fucking annoying. There's this one guy that's like, he's like the top tier model creator, or like the fashion mogul, basically, and he's like this pissant, like little, "Yo, what's up, dudes? I'm with the modern times." It really felt like the writers, this includes Ben Stiller, doesn't really understand modern lingo, so they're like, "Okay, this is what modern people are like hashtag everything. Yo, I'm wacky, I'm silly, I'm zany." I'm like, no, that's what an old person would think about the new generation. Like, they're always hip and cool, and this is what I am. It felt like the writers were out of touch with our generation. They just basically stereotyped what our generation is like, and that was insulting. Now, another thing is that there were a lot of wasted talent in this film. Like, Benedict Cumberbatch, yeah, he had that whole thing about whether he's a he or she's a she, but other than that, the character doesn't contribute much to the film. Penelope Cruz was terribly wasted. Barely had any funny lines or even any memorable moments. Like the only memorable moment in the entire film, and I don't really count it because she didn't really do much with it, is that she's like this really athletic swimmer. Like she was a swim model at one point, I think is what the joke was about her. And she's only there because she's a walking pair of tits. That's the only reason Penelope Cruz is in this film. No other reason. Not for her talented acting, not to show off her comedic chops. She needs to be the pair of tits that we all can ogle at in this film. Even though Zoolander had a wife and she was hot as hell and she could still be in the movie, but they decided to kill her off for God knows what. They even bring back the original actress to be like a ghost in one of the scenes, and I'm like, why not just make her alive? I liked her character. Her character was actually really fun. It'd be really interesting to see her go on this adventure with Zoolander, and they meet their kid for the first time, and Zoolander is like not being a good father, and she's trying to be a good mother. It would have been very funny, but no, they wrote her off. Kristen Wiig's in the movie, and just like Penelope Cruz, doesn't really have much to do. She has this one bit that she has this face that's just so ugly and tight because she uses Botox and she can't really move it that much, and she like and she's one of the big fashion icons of the time right now, and she has a secret that I'll get into a bit later. But again, she didn't really have much funny things to do. Yeah, she did some funny things, but again, they were few and far between. I really think that most of the characters that were introduced in this film were only introduced as bit characters. They were there for a bit, and that they were there just to make one scene kind of funny and to run a bit into the ground. That's the only reason that they're in the film. And my goodness, Fred Armisen is in this film, and his character was the worst. Because what they did, right, they took Fred Armisen's face and they CGI'd it onto a kid's body. And it was the most eerie and creepiest thing I've seen all year. And it just looked so out of place. It looked so unnecessary. And I'm like, is this supposed to be a joke? Is this supposed to be funny? Because I'm not laughing. I'm creeped out. I'm creeped the fuck out. What is this? What is this abomination? Why do you think that this is funny, Ben Stiller? This is not funny. Fred Armisen is a funny comedian. Make him do some funny things. Don't juxtapose his face onto a little kid's body. And the CGI looked god-awful. It looked so fake. I didn't believe that he was on this kid's body. It felt like his head was hovering there, and they just attached the little kid's body, and that's it. That's what they did. Unnecessary. Unnecessary. And his character had no real place. It's just like a thrown in cameo for most people who watch SNL. Like, hey, remember him from SNL and from Portlandia? Yeah, he's in this movie too. They bring back Will Ferrell as Mugatu because we need to have a villain, obviously, even though it would have been cool to have a new villain. No, we just need to harken back to the old villains. Oh, every villain in this film is from the old movie. Like, you have Mugatu, his black servant that he always abuses, which, okay, to admit, when he threw the coffee onto him and he was like, ah! That was pretty funny. You even see him smirk like, yep, we're back to the old ways. I like this. And then you got the DJ, relax, don't do that. Oh, you know what's funny? They bring that back only once in the film. I thought they were going to actually make that a center point. Like, if they're going to bring back all the original villains, why not bring back the song? That would have been interesting. And he even, like, Zoolander has, like, flashbacks to the song. He's just like, when someone tells him to relax, he starts to zone out and starts thinking of the song. I'm like, I think that's going to come into play. Nope, doesn't really come into play. It's like that, again, it was just a bit scene for a gag and callback to the original. It has no purpose to the story, which is bullshit. If you're going to throw that in, have it have some relevance to the story that you are telling right now. Mugatu has this plan to take all of the major figures of the fashion world and get them into this one place because they're apparently all part of a cult and they worship the Steve that I mentioned earlier, and then he's trying to like kill them all and some bullshit like that. It really makes no sense, and it's just, no, who cares? And we also discover that Kristen Wiig's character is actually Milla Jovovich's character from the first film. And goddamn, Milla Jovovich is still as fine as hell as she was 16 years ago. That woman never ages. I don't know what it is. Perfect genes. But yeah, it was just Boring, dude. So yeah, those are my thoughts about Zoolander 2. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's not really worth the ticket price to go see. And maybe a rental, definitely. If you're an uber fan of Zoolander and you want to see the sequel, then yeah, go check it out. When I originally made this review, I was going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. It's okay. It's nothing worthwhile. It's mindless entertainment and you'll forget about it pretty fast, you know, but it's good in the moment. So yeah, those are my thoughts about Zoolander 2. Stay tuned. I'm going to be talking about The Huntsman. The Huntsman. And then possibly I'll talk about The Nice Guys, and then I got Central Intelligence. I'm probably going to also review Alien Resurrection. I'm going to review Independence Day Resurgence probably today because I saw it last night and I'll have that review out soon. And then I got a few anime reviews. I didn't forget about LGBT month, guys. I still have those anime reviews and possibly some LGBT movie reviews coming your way as well. But until those come, guys, if you'd like to see more videos on this channel and be a part of the Black Critic crew, please hit that subscribe button below. Like this video if you really enjoyed it. And I'm Tony Watt II, the model known as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.